Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Juliet.
We've got a challenge review episode. Every month we give you all a card design challenge, and every month we review those. These are always super fun because we get a lot of wacky cards or innovative cards or just kind of different cards. And I think this one's going to lead to a lot of different kinds of card design. So I'm looking forward to where people take it. What was our challenge this month?
Our design challenge this month was Going Nova. Take an existing instant or sorcery card and make a creature that can cast that card once. With bonus points, nothing gold can stay, make the base card monocolor, and Vampire Weekend, a life payment is required somewhere. Of course, nothing gold can stay, and Vampire Weekend spell out Nova. For Going Nova, because it's November.
Wait, there was an additional secret theme to those bonus points?
Uh-huh.
The long game.
Uh-huh.
This cast a card, this doesn't have to be like a separate card or something like that, but, this creature is going to sacrifice itself, or it has an adventure, or it monstresses to make an effect. That's just like a spell. But we're looking to see an existing spell show up, or the effect of an existing instant or sorcery.
Yeah.
All right, our first one is from Kuyashi, and it's going to be Magus of the Toxin. This is 1 and a black for a 3/1 creature human wizard at rare. And then it has 2 and a black, pay X life, and tap. All creatures get -X/-X until end of turn. This is just hitting the target right exactly on our first card here. We've got Toxic Deluge, we've got a Magus, so like those are the creatures that embody some existing Magic card.
Mm-hmm. It's fun that even if you just did this for like a single life, even a -1/-1 this is a 3/1 for 1 and B, so it's going to be taking itself off the battlefield. Mm-hmm, I think in a like Crypt Rats sort of way.
This is a creature and has a tap ability, so you're not playing this and immediately activating it. You got to give it a turn cycle, and that I think also can be pretty fun. Can I just buy myself multiple turns where you don't want to play anything to the board, and I'm going to just play some enchantments and other things that won't die.
Yeah, in that way, I think it reminds me a little bit of Magus of the Disc.
Oh, yeah.
The Nevinyrral's Disc, sort of 2 white, no white, 2/4, that you pay 1 and tap it, and you destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments.
Yeah.
You are signaling to your opponent sufficiently in advance. You don't necessarily want to play more creatures into this, but maybe that delay is going to be like working in your favor. For Magus of the Toxin, you're getting it down relatively early, and that 3/1 can still be like a 3/1 for 1 and a black is, that's not nothing in terms of attacking your opponent's life points down, but you are paying the full price for the 3/1 and then the full price of 2 and a black and the life for the Toxic Deluge.
It's not so reliable that your opponent just has no counterplay. There's still plenty of ways to get rid of a 3/1.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a super solid, great submission right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Crypt Rats, our next submission is from Crypt Rat. Okay, so Crypt Rats, for people who don't know, is a old-timey Magic card that it's a little 2 and a black for a 1/1 rat that you can spend mana that then deals that damage to all creatures and players. But we have Crypt Rat, the person who has submitted the card Edgar's Cardiographer. It's another 1 and a black for a 3/1. This one is a Vampire Doctor.
Oh.
And it has pay red and a white, put a lifelink counter on this creature. It deals damage equal to its power to any target. Activate this ability only once, and only if you lost 3 or more life this turn. Flavor text. First, check for a pulse. Medical note, crossed out.
That's a good flavor text. I got my 2 mana 3/1 just like the last card. I paid a cost of Lightning Helix, red and white. You put a lifelink counter on this creature, and then it deals damage to some target. And because it got a lifelink counter, you're going to get that 3 life. Or more life, you can put equipment on here or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So the activate A makes this so it can only happen once.
Mhm.
And only if you lost 3 or more life this turn.
Hmm.
It's in essence giving you that lightning helix, but both the damage and the life gain only come into play if you've lost that much life. So it's like potentially if you've been dealt 3 damage some number of ways, maybe you played a fetch and a shock like that. That would be an easy way to control when 3 or more life loss is happening to you. You can catch back up to where you were on life and then lightning bolt out and then have this 3/1 lifelinker on the battlefield, which is like, okay, black can have a 3/1 lifelinker. So
Yeah.
after we've paid the red and a white, we're still kind of getting back onto Pi.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so this is activate only once. One of the things that they sometimes do on these activate only onces is have some other way to signify that this ability has already been activated. And this card does that. This card puts that lifelink counter on there.
I think that makes a lot of sense. This feels like a card for Magic designers.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a tweak on some familiar things in a new way. And how valuable is gaining 3 life if you have to have lost 3 life to get there? But it's like, well, we're playing Magic. I'm going to lose 3 or more life in some turn most games.
If my opponent is looking at combat and they deciding whether or not to attack, if I have some men up and they attack me, I can say like, oh, I won't take the trades that I normally would. I'll just get hit, and then I can get my lightning helix off now. But I took the hit, so maybe I'm not totally coming out ahead doing that. But I don't know. It adds a little bit of just thought as to whether it's worth attacking.
Yeah.
It feels like pretty white to have like a, hey, don't attack me or I'll get back at you. I'll get a little revenge. I guess black, that's also kind of some black flavor. And maybe it's all 3. Maybe it's red and black as well. Because black is like, how dare you attack me? And red is just, acting on impulse. You hit me, I'll hit you.
And of course, Edgar's cardiographer, the idea of Edgar Markov being this kind of famous Mardu sort of vampire and like an old guy. And so having a little vampire medical attendant makes a certain amount of sense. It hits the existing instant or sorcery card with a really recognizable one in a weird way of accomplishing that. It's monocolor, and I would say this is kind of like a life payment is required somewhere.
Yeah. And that kind of keeps it from being like a full flame tongue kavu, just like enter and immediately zap something, or just hold this thing at any time I can murder a creature. It's a little conditional, so it's not quite as, it's not fully assertive. It's not just like a full burn spell card.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Our next card here is from Ortui. We'll get at us if that pronunciation isn't quite right, but more importantly, they're a new submitter to the design challenge. New submitter.
Of the
West. They've been doing all kinds of popcorning. They've been, active in the Discord here, but this is their first design challenge submission, so we definitely want to recognize that. And their card that they've got here is called Deadly Swordmaster. 2 and a white for a creature human soldier. It's a 3/1 first strike. And then we've got a channel ability here. Channel 1 and a white. Discard Deadly Swordmaster. Deadly Swordmaster deals 3 damage to target tapped creature, and you gain 2 life. Activate only if you lost life this turn. That's a little bit like the vampire's requirement, too.
Mm-hmm. In this case, you're either getting the 3/1 for 3 first striker creature on the battlefield, or you're discarding this from your hand for 1 and a white to effectively do Deadly Riposte. 1 and a white instant. It deals 3 damage to target tapped creature, and you gain 2 life. Mm-hmm. So this is a conditional channel. I admit I don't have an encyclopedic memory for every channel card. Did we get many channels but with a condition on them?
Activate only as a sorcery.
Sure.
That. But maybe not too many other conditions. Yeah. It feels like it's already a white card, so it's kind of interesting to add a condition to an existing white instant, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess part of it's for the challenge, right? We want life to be paid.
If you think about when you are targeting a tapped creature, the creature is tapped because it attacked you, and you lost life because it attacked you, and you let it deal damage. And so that's when the riposte is coming in. That's when the Swordmaster is like like a Final Fantasy VIII summon, not like a Final Fantasy X summon. You know what I mean? Just like showing up on the battlefield, doing this sword strike, and then
Uh,
leaving after the effect has happened.
yeah,
I
yeah.
Well, why would you ever play Deadly Riposte if Deadly Swordmaster exists? It's like, okay,
Mm,
well, for the instant version, you can do this before that creature deals damage to you. In this version, you have to either let the creature deal damage to you or like crack a fetch land, do
mm.
something in use a pain land for some mana or something like that.
So you're saying like we're adding too much to Deadly Riposte with this card on its own, so we're adding the condition to make sure that Deadly Riposte is not completely obsoleted.
I think that sort of balancing
Yeah.
effect makes a certain amount of sense to me.
Okay. Okay.
This
Yeah.
sort of channel makes me envision a like alternate magic where channels just in every set. You know what I mean? Like this is
Yeah.
instead of having like modal dual faced cards,
Hmm.
all sorts of cards have you can imagine in the like MTG arena thing, like or in a similar digital environment, you have the little swordmaster animation for when it enters the battlefield, or
Or
instead when you like
yeah.
cast it as an instant and it comes in and fwatwa, swings its sword and takes out your opponent's attacker or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Channel was pretty fun when it came back. It can make cards like a little reading heavy.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't that many designs you could do a channel where it like really mirrors what the creature is naturally going to do. Like I think the
Mm-hmm.
original channels were like, hey, this creature has a tap ability that's kind of weak and a channel ability that's a stronger version of that ability. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
our like Neon Kamigawa ones were like, I'm a creature and I have one ability and my channel ability is completely different and it's unrelated.
It's like an actual instant rather than
Yeah.
OG channel Shine In of Flight's Wings. It's a
Hmm.
4 and a blue for a 3/3 flyer, or you can discard it and pay a blue to give a creature flying until it returns. It's like, okay, it's that keyword
Yeah.
that the creature has, and then it's giving that in. Is it Blood Rush? I get Blood Rush and Bloodthirst.
Blood
And all of
Rush,
the blood
yes. The
the
give a cool thing to someone. Yeah.
the gruel kind of specific version of channel.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we're dealing 3 damage. This is a 3 power creature, so we're doing a little bit to line those up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just want one thread that goes between the two, between the creature and its channel ability. I guess I still have a lot of respect for putting first strike on anything with 3 or more power. That I don't
Mm-hmm.
ever want to give that up. I don't ever want to put that in my graveyard just to zap something.
It really is here's a card that can have board presence versus here is a one-time extremely reactive effect.
Yeah. I have to find the right spot for it.
We've got an existing instant. It's a monocolor base card, and this is a little bit further, I think, from but like this is a life payment somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this is more on the creative side than the cheating side, if that makes sense.
Sure. Sure.
This is trying to get that requirement through a novel way.
I did word the a life payment is required somewhere that way, so it could be expansive.
Yeah, that somewhere is doing a lot of work to on behalf of our submitters.
Our next submission is from Xena. It's Novasway Prima Donna, 2 and a black for a 2/3 legendary creature bat dancer. It's a mythic. It has perform 4. Exile a creature you control named Novasway Coryphe. When you activate this for the 4th time this turn, Novasway Prima Donna crescendos. Activate only as a sorcery.
Oh hell yeah!
Crescendo. When this creature crescendos, exile it. Each player shuffles their hand, field, and grave into their library. They draw 7 cards. If they have more than 7 life, they lose life equal to the difference. At the end of turn, return creatures exiled with this creature to the battlefield under your control.
All right. So
And then featuring also Novasway Coryphe, 1 in the black for a 1/1 creature bat dancer uncommon flying. When this creature enters, you lose 2 life and draw a card. Target dancer temporarily gains flying.
All righty. We're painting like a whole picture for a set here. This is a lot to digest, so we'll break it down, and then before we try to get into feedback here. All right, so I guess maybe we'll start with that one. So we've got a 2-mana 1/1 flyer. When it enters, lose 2 life, draw a card, and target dancer temporarily gains flying. That feels like a solid card already.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a vampire that's just like a 2-mana 1/1 ETB, lose a life, draw a card. This you lose 2 life to draw that card, but you get flying, and you can give away a little bit of flying too. So that seems like a nice little uncommon kind of side grade thing. And you don't have like your deck can play any number of these on this Coryphée, is that what you said?
A Coryphée, of course, is a leading dancer in a ballet corps.
Oh, okay. But anyhow, what I'm trying to say is this is a normal card in terms of how many you could put in a deck. So when we look at the Novus Way Prima Donna, it basically says in order to do much with this card, you need to activate this ability 4 times. You need to be able to exile 4 Coryphée from your graveyard.
Well, you need to exile 4 of them from the battlefield.
Oh, from the battlefield. Oh, even trickier.
You need to cast the uncommon, and when it enters, you lose 2 life. So you need to...
You've lost 8 life, yeah.
Yes, you've lost 8 life from playing the little bats. You've drawn 4 cards in the process and handed out some flying.
Even before you do that for 4 times, it puts the 4 up front here that we want to do this 4 times. That's the main point of this card. But the bottom part of the card says, at end of turn, return creatures exiled with this creature to the field under your control. So it's saying, even if you only have 1 of the little baby bats, you can exile it in the middle of your turn with this main mythic.
Oh, sure.
And then you'll get just that 1 back and lose another 2 life and draw another card and give another thing flying. So you do have something to do before you get all 4 of them. That something might kill you pretty quickly, but you do have something to do. The thing that's kind of nutty about this card is you've got 8 lines of rules text to describe something that seems impossible in normal Magic. Is there like a format where you have like 30 card decks or something like that, or some way that you're more likely to get all 4 of your baby dancers on the battlefield at once? I don't know.
Here's
wild.
my pitch.
Yeah.
It's like the old like estate sale cube or different things like that. In this one, it's just every turn there are 3 end steps. Like there are 3 like end of turn sequences that happen.
Oh.
And so what happens is you get 1 of the little bats and 1 of the prima donnas, and you exile it, and then it comes back at end of turn, and then you exile it, and then it comes back, and then you exile it, and then it comes back, and that way you can get the 4 sequences in a row. But you do get a Sway of the Stars in response, because I don't know that we mentioned that that's the spell being cast here.
Yeah. Each player's life total becomes 7. Yeah. Is this banned in Commander? I've never seen this cast.
Sway of the Stars is a card that...
It is?
Yeah. It's banned in Commander. Sway of the Stars is playing on the idea of like a time twister, like a reset the game thing. Everybody's just restarting the game, but at 7 life. You can just like, okay, I'm going to slow the game until we get to Sway of the Stars, and then I'm going to just somehow grind these things out, or I've got creatures O-ringed, as we might say, or like temporarily exiled. They're going to come back in.
Oh, it's permanents. Oh,
shuffles their hand, graveyard, and all permanents they own into their library. Then draws 7 cards. For Novus Way Prima Donna, if you are down to like 1 life, you don't actually gain life. It's just everybody loses life down to 7.
Oh, funny. Yeah, effect. That's true. Yeah.
So that is the one difference. And I think the goal of that is to make it a life payment, or maybe the life payment comes from the little bat, which is 2 life some at least 4 times, so that you can exile and return if not more.
Yeah, that's funny. When you were talking for a little while there, I was thinking, part of the reason it's okay for me to lose all this life from all these baby bats is I'm going to snap back to 7. But our Novus Way here, after doing all the shuffling stuff, says if they have more than 7 life, they lose life equal to the difference. So yeah, you can. if your opponent's at 14, they'll drop to 7. But if you're at 4, you don't bump back up to 7. You stay at 4, and then all your bats return and you die. Wait, do you always die? If you
Oh, you do, don't you? At the end of turn, return creatures exiled with this creature to the field under your control. And your 4 bats come back in, and you just...
I'm not sure here, actually. Because it says when this creature crescendos, exile it, and then do all the shuffle, sway of the stars stuff. And it has the text on the bottom, at the end of turn creatures exiled with this creature to the field under your control. That is written like an ability on a permanent on the battlefield.
Right.
If this crescendos, it exiles itself.
Read as written, it would never return.
Yeah, your other things wouldn't return, and you would. Okay, so you don't always lose the game when you crescendo. But
I think you've stumped us a little bit, maybe, on the intentional play pattern.
Currently, the way that it plays, just as it's written.
Mm-hmm.
That last ability is sort of what makes it worthwhile to perform less than 4, to just exile 1 or 2. You exile 1 or 2, you get them back, and then you lose a little bit of life, but you draw some more cards.
Mm-hmm. Of course, if you started at 20 life and your opponent is not decreasing that life at all, when you crescendo, you would be losing 13 life anyways. So as long as you've lost no more than 12 life from bringing these bats in and out, you want to keep doing that to maximize your chance of getting to the crescendo.
Yeah, you're gonna go down to 7 life anyhow. You may as well spend all that life instead of just losing it for nothing.
I will say, if you pull this off, if you get the crescendo, in a vacuum, if you're casting Upheaval, you should be winning the game because you're the one who can pre-tap mana in advance of that.
Yeah. There's also some technology on here that this card is the extreme version of. This is the craziest dream, the most unusual spell that we're trying to cast. But this concept of perform, hey, a creature goes away and then comes back, and then ETBs again, comes away, comes back. There's plenty going on here that is cool.
Cool.
Next up, we've got a card from Plaid Weasel VT, who is a no submitter. Design challenge entrant. Boo, 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 boo. They were part of Mocktober, and they were submitting cards like a bunch of Muppet-themed cards, which I remember we highlighted on the Mocktober Newbies episode. But this is the first design challenge, and I'm looking forward to what we get. Annoying Wretch, 4 and a red. For a creature Goblin Coward at rare. It's a 2/5. You must pay 7 life. When you do, each player hides at least one item. Then all players reveal them simultaneously. Each player loses life equal to the number of items they revealed. The player who revealed the fewest items then loses half their life, rounded up. If 2 or more players are tied for fewest, each loses half their life, rounded up. This is kind of at a start Goblin game, which is like an old black border, but maybe now would be an Acorn Unset card. A 7-mana thing that makes you do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're so confident you're going to win the Goblin game that you spot the opponent 7 life at the start.
Or you're so confident that it's good if everyone loses from the Goblin game. Listen, I'm the one who has a bunch of lightning bolts or hasty creatures or little boggart slingers that I can just ping your face. If I bring both of us down to 3 life, that's fine. That's the okay thing.
I guess we didn't totally break this down. So we've got a creature who's a 2/5, a little hard to kill, and it has a dies trigger that is going to just set off this crazy bidding thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the way the original Goblin game is written, you are hiding objects, but you can also just think of that as choosing a number. That maybe it's easier to guess your opponent's number because they are hiding objects, and maybe with body language you can tell. But if you just imagine choosing a number, I choose 4, Juliet chooses 6. I lose 4 life, Juliet loses 6 life.
And then
I chose a lower number, and therefore I then lose half my life.
Yeah.
So you're kind of bidding to see how much tolerance we have, how much am I gonna lose if I don't bid high enough, all that kind of stuff. I guess Goblin Game's originally 7 mana, so maybe part of why this dodge trigger costs 7 life is this sort of the 7 mana of the Goblin Game.
It's a little bit tricky because by paying 7 life at the front end, you've already lost effectively half your life.
Yeah.
You've already lost the game once. Are you going to lose it a second time is the thing that we're also bidding life on.
Yeah.
And is the life payment there in part to make sure that you don't just like loop this? You've got some like goblin sacrifice synergies that let you like put a bunch of annoying wretches onto the battlefield and then sacrifice them to, like a sacrifice a goblin, add 1 red mana or ping an opponent sort of thing. And then you're like classic like goblin bidding sort of thing where you're trying to like reanimate them or sequence them.
Yeah. It makes sense that we need to have some sort of hoop here because repeatedly goblin gaming on a creature, seems naturally powerful.
But on the other hand, I think I might prefer just like when it dies, exile it and do this.
Okay.
You know what? The other thing that we are arriving at is we are arriving at not the bonus challenge, but the original design challenge, which is that it can only cast it once. And so usually a dice trigger is like one way of making that happen because you have to reanimate.
Okay.
But this is really saying you cannot you cannot perform this operation more than once in a game unless you start with 40 life and have a lot of ways of kind of returning to that.
I think I would like to play Goblin Game a couple times. I think I would enjoy that being deployed either one-on-one or in a Commander game a couple times. I could get into some Goblin Game. So I think we came out a little negative because of that shock and that 7 life read, but I think this card would be fun to play against.
I think in multiplayer there's potentially more fun to be had as the player playing Annoying Witch.
Okay,
I think in a 1v1, I'd really be hard pressed to. It's like, okay, this creature's on the battlefield. If this creature dies, the game is over one way or another. And maybe that's like half the point of Goblin Game is that like, listen, this is gonna decide the game. I think in a multiplayer setting where like people are kind of playing mind games with each other rather than just looking at your own life total and saying, well, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. I did not expect to get Goblin Game when we issued this design challenge. So I'm appreciative of that, and I'm appreciative of this submission.
And it hits both the original challenge and both bonus points.
Very fun.
Our next submission is from Sage Bees. It's Shadow Sifter. It's 2 and a black for a 3/2 creature elemental uncommon. When Shadow Sifter enters, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Proliferate. And it also has Evoke. Pay 3 life.
Oh.
So this is a version of Whisper of the Dross, which is a single black mana for an instant with target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Proliferate.
Oh, that was from All Will Be One. So that was like one of your ways to get extra poison counters on people. I guess you could proliferate your own oil or other cool things like that.
The card that I was thinking in my head was definitely, is it Grim Affliction from New Phyrexia?
Yeah.
Put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, then proliferate. For this one, it is just -1/-1 and proliferate. So you've got to put the counters on various permanents one way or another ahead of time.
Oh, funny, yeah. The feeling of this card, hey, -1/-1 proliferating, it gives you the feeling that you're playing with -1/-1 counters, but that's not actually a requirement for this card. You could be playing with any counters you want, energy, experience, whatever you want to do. Just regular +1/+1 counters on your other creatures.
It's interesting that the evoke, this is a creature entering the battlefield and sacrificing. A creature is getting -1/-1. You're proliferating, and you're paying 3 life, and you have this like 3/2 just generic creature. None of those components like interact in any way.
Hmm.
Those are
Yeah.
all operating on like different
Yeah.
vectors. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this could kind of help be a little bit of glue for
Mm.
multiple different
Yeah.
synergies. It's
Hmm.
kind of surprising how little
Yeah.
like internal synergy there is between the different parts of the card.
Yeah. Very gluey card. Yeah. It meant to work in a bunch of different decks, but not on its own. This is kind of interesting card because it's sort of Phyrexian mana for the evoke cost.
Mhm.
Sort of. I got a free card. I got my Gitaxian probe or whatever. I just pay 3 life. I don't have to pay any mana, and I get
Mhm.
to do this little baby removal spell, which gives it kind of all kinds of applications. I think. Like
Yeah.
we're kind of talking about the friend side of like just nuking a small creature and proliferating, which is okay. Like Whispers of the Dross was like cuttable, kind of playable, and limited. But being able to do so for 0 mana, now we're starting to, now any dice synergies I have become like really easy to trigger. If I have dice synergies that also use counters, then that's even better. But yeah, evoke for no mana.
And imagine you play out a planeswalker,
Hmm.
and
Mm-hmm,
then
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
evoke 2 shadow sifters to get like uh
Yeah,
expensive life wise but free mana wise proliferates so that you can use the ultimate on the planeswalker like the turn you play it.
yeah,
Or if you have multiple planeswalkers out and you're doing
yeah,
shadow sifter super friends
yeah.
to get that extra proliferate.
It reminds me of the like Simian Spirit Guide, the Elven Spirit Guide, which are just like
Hmm.
little creatures that you can discard to get 1 mana.
Hmm.
So the removal might not even be that important. Just the ability to discard a card to get a loyalty counter might be worth it on its own. This is a cool one. Do we cycle this out? I guess if I see 1 evoke pay 3 life, do I expect there's going to be 5 evoke pay 3 life, or is this a one-off?
That's an interesting question. I mean, similarly, if we have, let's say, a bunch of 3/2s for 3 that do a little bit of thing
Hmm.
like on their color, do they have an
Mhm.
evoke payment that is like similarly like is the green one, something about like returning a creature to your like,
Oh
evoke
yeah,
put some
yeah.
counters or evoke fight. Evoke fight as an evoke cost, I think could be an interesting thing. I don't
Hmm,
know.
hmm, hmm. Tap a creature with power 4 or greater. Evoke.
A thing that we do want to think about as magic designers when we are working in the space of free spells
Yeah.
is like there's a reason that, for instance, grief, the evoke cost, like the pitch cost involves another black card,
Hmm. Hmm.
or free spells often are like if you control a swamp, you can do this. If you have a forest
Oh
and a
yeah,
plains, you can
yeah.
do this. If you're pitching or you're revealing for the like the free morph flip cards from Tarkir,
Hmm.
where you're revealing a blue card or a green card in your hand or
Hmm.
different things like that, is so that you don't play this card in a deck that can't cast it,
Hmm.
which is just like another way of enforcing color pie that like okay eventually you get hybrid cards as ways that like work around some of these things, but in general this is going to be a card that you might play in non-black decks
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a removal if
Hmm.
you like really need to get the -1/-1 out without needing to like spend mana on it, just spending cardboard
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
life, as a proliferate, as a like body in and out if you've got like enters or sacrifice
Hmm.
synergies. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
you might play this in your red green sacrifice deck
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
limited
Hmm.
because it gets you your extra +1/+1 counters on your creatures, and it's a free sacrifice card that
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
you genuinely don't have to pay any black mana or have any black mana in your deck for.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so as a one-off in a format, I think there's space to do that at marginal enough rates that it isn't going to be a problem, but it definitely is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And if I saw a cycle of these that all had evoke pay 3 life, even if they have marginal effects, I think there's some design mistakes being made on a kind of set design level.
At least one of them will slip through and break containment.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree with all that. All right. What do we have next?
Our next submission is from Juliet. It's Augury Signet. 3 blue and a blue for a
Hmm.
creature bird uncommon. It's a 4/3 flyer for 5 mana with when this bird damages a player, sacrifice it and draw 4 cards.
There's some other stuff about this card that I want to make sure we highlight. One of them, it's got a white border. It's got the old
Mhm.
border. So it looks a little bit like if Foundations existed in 1998 or something.
Mhm.
It's got a little star for a set symbol. And we've got some flavor text here. There's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow from William Shakespeare Hamlet.
Uh-huh.
So we got definitely I don't know, it was 7th edition in the air when you were designing this card.
So 7th edition was in the air when I was designing this card. There's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow, of course, comes from Act 5 of Hamlet, where Hamlet says, not a whit, we defy augury. There's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. If it be not now, then it is to come, it's etc. There's a whole paragraph of that. But more than 7th edition, we have What If Foundations existed in 1999.
Oh.
This is a card in the style of Starter 1999, a Portal-esque set. The instant and sorcery being cast here is Tidings, which is 3 blue and a blue for an uncommon sorcery. Draw 4 cards.
See. Oh, okay.
Whose flavor text is many wearing rapiers are afraid of goose quills from William Shakespeare's Hamlet.
It goes deep.
We got the goose quill, and now we have the idea of augury, of course, is birds, like the flight of birds, the death of birds, these sort of things. That's why there's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow is talking about the idea of augury. In Tidings, many wearing rapiers are afraid of goose quills is, of course, about using goose quills as writing implements rather than like the actual goose feathers themselves. But if you look at specifically the starter version of Tidings, we've got the card frame, I specifically tried to get the really bold, thick text for the rules text, and like the really short rules text also. Like there aren't a lot of readers on in starter, and I did my best to emulate the set symbol too with that little off-center uncommon star.
Shining star. Yeah. All right, so to recap this card, we got 5 mana, 4/3 flyer. And then when it damages a player, sacrifice it and draw 4 cards. So there's no option there. If you hit your opponent and this creature's still alive, it's going to get sacrificed, and you're going to draw 4 cards. There was we just talked about Phyrexians a minute ago. There was a Phyrexian card that did this a while ago that I kind of remember called Impaler Shrike.
Oh, sure.
I wanted to use this. I don't know if it was ever that good, but it's whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it if you do draw 3 cards. So that Shrike is a little more about like hit if you want to, or draw 3 cards if you want to. Whereas this bird, your augury signet, this is if you're hitting, you are casting Tidings, and the bird is going away. Which I think is fine. Like I'm not mad. I would not be mad drawing 4 cards in almost any game.
Unless your opponent is on like 6 life and you're like, okay, I got my 4 in, and ooh, well, I've got to try to now get in with my vanilla 1/1s and vanilla 2/2s for 5 mana or whatever. Yeah,
it's kind of like a downside. I think it's kind of nice. Like big flyers are just so naturally powerful and limited that it can be a bummer in like a startery kind of game to not have anything to do about a big flyer. And this says, well, you don't have to worry too much about the big flyer, but you will have more cards to fight against now that I've played and hit with this big flyer.
And this isn't strictly better than Tidings because A, you have to wait a whole turn.
Yeah.
And B, your opponent can block this or remove it or any number of other things. This isn't strictly better than a flying 4/3 just generic for 5 mana.
Yeah. It can block in the air if you're too far behind. Yeah.
It is also a little bit like Swans of Bryn Argol, which is a 4 mana 4/3 swan that draws you cards from Shadowmoor. That it's a big part of the classic Seismic Swans deck.
Yeah.
Where
shoot some birds, draw some cards. Shoot some birds, draw some cards. Yep.
Much like augury, much like a special province in the Fall of a Sparrow, when this bird hits your opponent, it is falling, and then you're reading its fall in flight, and you're discerning, you're reading the future from that, and that's what you're drawing the cards from.
Yeah. I did not know about the augury, the word root of augury. Auspex, another word for augur, can be translated as one who looks at birds. People ask what I do in my spare time. I'll say I'm an augur.
And people are like, you drill things?
I'll leave that up to them. All right, next up from Red Bay, we've got Monty the Punctual. 2 white for a legendary creature, Loxodon Advisor. It's a 4/4, 4-mana 4/4. You may reveal up to 1 card named Monty the Punctual from your opening hand. If you do, conjure a card named Late to Dinner to your hand. This creature also has Vigilance, and when Monty enters, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So the Monty trigger here is an opening hand thing. So if I have him in an opening hand, I get an extra card. I get Late to Dinner. And then Monty himself is a 4-mana 4/4 that has like an enters trigger to trade a food for a counter.
Late to Dinner, of course, is a 3 and a white sorcery. It's a common from Modern Horizons 2 with return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Create a food token. And then in the flavor text and art, we've got a little a punctual ghost of an elephant arriving to a tea time with a little dapper tuxedoed or a little dapper rhinoceros.
Yeah, I think Late to Dinner captured people's attention pretty well because it was a reanimate spell where the flavor of the reanimation is that these two friends always had dinner together, and one of them died, but that didn't stop him from coming to dinner.
And so Monty the Punctual brings you a Late to Dinner as an 8th card in your hand.
That seems, kind of like the Evoke Paying a Life. It seems like it's maybe breaking a normal convention that we see in card design, but I don't know, maybe for good reasons.
Monty's also like a 4-mana 4/4, and then Late to Dinner is also a 4-mana card.
Okay.
So to a certain extent, it's like, okay, how many Monty the Punctuals do you play? You don't actually have to play any Late to Dinner because you're not fetching them out of your library. You're conjuring them. But
that's true. Yeah.
Are you playing a bunch of these 4-mana cards? If you happen to draw 3 Monty the Punctuals in your opening hand, you get 1 extra Late to Dinner, and now you have 4 mana cards in your hand. And of course, if you're playing like Solitude or something like that, if you're playing any cards that can use just extra white cards or extra 4-mana cards or extra things like that in your hand as a resource on its own, that can be worthwhile. 8th cards are very powerful. Is the thing that we have learned over the years of companions and otherwise.
Instead of having a companion condition, it's just, did you rip it in your opening? And then you get something that's like pretty firmly a card. Like Late to Dinner might not be a powerful card, but it counts as a whole card.
So it's like a ley line companion. Two things that never cause any issue, except this one's like, maybe this is fine. I mean, it's digital only to begin with, so like, there's a limit to how bad it can be.
Leyline Companion is my vaporwave chill out driving album.
Coming soon. Beacon of Creation is gonna try to compete with MTG Remy. It's the one who does the silly magic songs.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Or with Patrick Chapin's Jace the Mind Sculptor album.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I'm sure there have been other magic songs over time, but those are the particularly memorable ones, I think.
So Late to Dinner, you bring the creature back, you get a food. When Monty enters, you can sacrifice a food if you do get a +1/+1 counter on a creature. That kind of makes Monty undying-ish, right? Because it comes back one time and with an extra counter on it almost. And And I guess if I saw like a 4-mana 4/4 Vigilance Undying creature, that would be a good card, but that wouldn't really blow my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like sideways from that. Maybe a little bit better than that, but you do have to cast the Late to Dinner. Monty doesn't come back for free.
Right. And Monty does not also give you a direct way to get themselves into the graveyard.
That's true. Yeah. Natural Causes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a card named Natural Causes?
Couldn't tell you. There's no way of knowing.
I mean, just because Scryfall says there isn't one doesn't mean there isn't a card named Natural Causes.
But yeah, we've got a monocolored card. Conjuring the card into your hand is borderline, I would say. But it certainly doesn't let you do this operation more than once per game.
That's true. Yeah.
So that is convenient.
Does it have a life? Is sacrificing a food a life payment?
You know, that might be does a tree fall in the woods make a sound sort of thing. I think for our listener at home, as a moment of contemplation, consider, is sacrificing a food without gaining life a kind of life payment? Our next card is from Cord, Omen Pilled Plushie. It's a single blue mana for Gitaxian Prober. It's a 0/1 artifact creature, Phyrexian Eye, uncommon, with when this creature enters, you may pay 2 life. If you do, cast a copy of Gitaxian Probe without paying its mana cost.
A lot of the other cards like cast the card by just like doing the same effect as an existing card, but this says no. You are casting a spell right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're casting like a token ephemeral copy of Gitaxian Probe specifically.
Yeah.
I guess this is kind of like the ballet dancer earlier, because this is like pay 2 life and draw a card, but you get to look at the opponent's hand or target player's hand. You can look at your teammate's hand instead of your opponent's hand if you want.
This gives you an artifact on the battlefield, if that comes in handy for Metalcraft, or just like lots of little creatures, and you know, this gives you 2 spells for a storm sort of thing.
2 spells for 1 mana, yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you're doing some sort of like Ground Rift prowess sort of deck, or Magecraft sort of thing, you are getting towards a lot of different, like, I think this is a playable card. I don't know when and where it will be. Like, it's not going to dominate a format the way Gitaxian Probe, anywhere it's legal, becomes kind of a ubiquitous kind of nuisance. But this is a fun idea. It's kind of like a Gitaxian Probe plus a Memnite kind of in a way, because you're getting this extra thing.
Huh. I'm allergic to the do nothingness of this somehow. But yeah, I can respect it. I can believe that there's reasons to play this.
Gitaxian Probe is not legal in more than you cannot have more than one Gitaxian Probe in your deck in any format that exists.
Yeah. Banned in Modern, Legacy, Pauper. Yeah.
Restricted in Vintage, and then legal in Commander and Oathbreaker, where you're only having one to begin with.
Oh, there you go. You worded your your declaration very precisely.
I want this card to be printed a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I think this is interesting. I think this is doing interesting things.
Okay.
You know, to a certain extent, we want to ask, how much do we want to be looking at other players' hands? But as like a one-time thing, you're not shooting off a Gitaxian Probe every turn. You are paying mana for this. This replaces itself, but not for free. I think the places that this would get played are interesting places. And this enables certain like weird formats and strategies while still having much more downside. If they did this for all of the various free-ish Phyrexian spells, I think there's really interesting things to play in those spaces.
Cool. Yeah, it's got a cool frame on it too. Some cool, I don't know, it's just got like cool spikes on it, and the artifact border is kind of grimy and Phyrexian, so that adds to the effect. All right, next up from Ash, we've got Denial. It's a name for a card. It's 2 blue blue for it's a creature. It's an 08 creature elemental incarnation at Mythic. It has hexproof, and when this creature is turned face up, search target player's library for up to 7 cards and exile them. Then that player shuffles. And you can imagine it's going to turn face up, so therefore it has morph. And in this case, the morph cost is exile a blue card from your hand. So we already have some of that technology you were talking about earlier with free stuff. You got to exile a blue card to get this effect.
Yeah. In a vacuum, I really liked this effect being kind of sequestered into black. That in general, if you are going into your opponent's library and removing stuff,
Yeah.
this of course is casting Denying Wind from the same cycle as, I believe, Plague Wind is probably the most famous of the wind cycle.
I didn't know there's a wind cycle.
Yeah, I think so. They're like massive mana cost spells.
Oh yeah, from Prophecy, Plague Wind, Blessed Wind. I've never seen that card. Vitalizing Wind. Oh, okay. And then a random Wind Scouter. Why did you put another wind card in your set with 5 huge wind cards? Searing Wind. I have seen that. Deal 10. Yeah, I can get behind that.
I know all 23 of Magic the Gathering's wins by name. Hashtag check out our Esper episode. Yeah, so this can, on turn 3, remove 7 cards from your opponent's, like for just 3 generic mana, and exile a blue card from your hand to potentially just not win the game, but stop your opponent from being able to win. In addition to a 0/8 that then is blocking the battlefield and can't be targeted.
I guess this is maybe Mythic because it would be quite good and limited. Being able to remove 7 cards from your opponent's deck and limited would mostly remove all the remaining good cards from their deck.
And make sure that they mill out before you do. You can just grind them down.
Yeah. And you've got a hexproof 08, so.
Yeah,
this is quite a card. I guess Denying Wind was 9 mana to do this. And we're saying we're going to pay 3 mana plus a blue card to get that effect. I can agree with, this was maybe more black than blue. I guess they had to pick an existing card, so maybe that's sort of, how you get a card from Prophecy into this challenge. I'm trying to think of where this card is like a fun part of a format. You know what I mean? Like in Commander, I don't really want to bother doing this. I guess I can screw over like my friend who's like got really dependent on a specific combo. But there are black cards that could have done that. I was trying to think because the black cards, I can't remember one besides maybe the Graveyard Phyrexian mana one that I've actually seen play because they seem to not cost this like super competitively. Maybe there was some tournament application for sideboard cards, but this is not really a thing that we're doing very often.
I think this is unfun enough that I don't want it around. that would be my take.
That's sort of what I'm saying. It's like if we've never seen like commonly used fun version, twists on this card. Maybe this whole zone of possible design is kind of radioactive. It's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
There was like a morph cycle where you revealed a colorful card in cons. You reveal a blue card from your hand, reveal a black card from your hand to unmorph them. But exiling, I guess you get something more powerful.
The Teamer Charger cycle, right?
There's like a blue wall, a black death touch creature. Those are the ones I remember playing.
They were interesting, and then it's but the thing that I'm getting is not necessarily a great card. It's that's because you're getting it for free. That this is the helping bulk the number of morph cards so that people don't assume all morphs are great.
Yeah. They're filler morph cards to throw off your opponent. Yeah, they were all arguably worse than a 2/2 in some conditions. Or what about a shared deck? I noticed my opponent has started playing certain effects, and I'm willing to prevent either of us from drawing that effect for the rest of the game.
I'm removing all rebels from
Yeah.
our Mercadian Masks shared deck.
Oh, you played a tapped fetch land? Haha, we'll remove all the targets for it.
Our next card is from Oreo-Orca.
Mm-hmm.
It's Selesnya Charmer. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 with Vigilance. It's a creature human knight uncommon. It has tap, sacrifice this creature, exile target creature with power 5 or greater, and channel. Pay a single green mana, discard this card. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn.
I like the concept on this card. We've got Selesnya Charm, which is like a 3-mode card. And all 3 of those modes are sort of present on this card. That's a funny idea.
Yeah. If denial is like, oh, this is interesting space that I don't necessarily want to see lots of explored, this is like, ooh, this one is good. This might get really dangerous once you start cycling it out. But like, I'm curious. I really like the execution and the picking of Selesnya Charm in particular. I think really hit this.
Yeah, Celestia Charm, target creature gets +2/+2 and trample, which is the channel ability of this charmer. And then exile target creature with power 5 or greater. That's the tap and sack ability of this charmer. And then the third ability is create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, which is this creature when you just cast it.
Mm-hmm. And so you can get one of these at any given time. You can kind of get one and then another, but still.
You can have the knight on loan until you decide to blow up a big creature.
How would you feel if this was in the same set
as Celestia Charm? Oh,
we're just like
which one?
Really, we're just really selling. Like, listen, this is Selesnya's identity in this set. We're all about
3 modes. Yeah,
we're all about 2/2 vigilance knights. We're all about exiling creatures with power 5 or greater, and we're all about +2/+2 and trample. Those 3 things together are the Selesnya identity.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because the Selesnya is headed up by that like 3-headed dryad, right? So having 3 modes is just iconic to Selesnya.
Oh yeah, these are the 3 parts of Tristani.
There's the one that likes dudes. There's the one that doesn't like big people, and there's the one who's trying to bulk up for the for the summer. I don't know.
Sure.
What were the modes on the new one? Tristani could give out Death Touch, give out Vigilance, give out Double Strike. That's kind of like what this is. You know, Death Touch is kind of the exile mode. Vigilance is the night mode, and Double Strike is kind of the +2 and trample mode. I like it. You've forged a new path for Selesnya, the trimodal guild.
I've always found kind of Ravnica top-down design to be interesting, given that it started in a bottom-up place. But if we really leaned into like the guild masters, that like all of the Rakdos stuff isn't just about like putting on a show or doing this stuff. It is about Rakdos in particular. All of the Izzet stuff isn't about like wacky like science stuff. It's about Niv Mizzet in particular, and everything like trickles down from the guild master. So all Selesnya stuff is like it's all 3-modal because it's about Tristani.
Yeah, the guild leaders were sort of like kind of fun standalone cards in a lot of cases. But what if we tried to put more focus on them? That seems challenging set-wise. To like really nail a legendary so hard, you base a whole faction around.
I think if you are making, for instance, a Ravnica Jumpstart environment or like a Ravnica cycle of precons.
Okay, yeah, I can believe that. You're right.
Like commander precons that you could get close to those ideas in interesting ways, or just be like, okay, we had Mirko Vosk or whatever. We're getting away from the psychic vampire like era of Dimir. We're in the everybody's a shapeshifter era of Dimir. So just 100% of Dimir cards are about like shapeshifting and being unexpectedly somebody else.
Too funny.
This accomplishes the monocolor base card. This accomplishes casting the thing once-ish. And there's a life payment, but I think that's A-okay.
Yeah. That's a cool card. Our next card is going to be from M-Dub, aka Peter. He's mid rebrand. He's going to Peter soon. We've got Undoer of Days, which is 5 and a blue for a 6/6 creature Eldrazi horror with Devoid. So this is a 6 mana 6/6, but Devoid, so it's not technically blue, it's colorless. 2 and a blue and tap. Undoer of Days loses Devoid and becomes blue. I was making a big deal of Devoid just to try to paint the picture, but it's actually very relevant. Loses Devoid and becomes blue. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. If it's your turn, end the turn. Activate only if Undoer of Days is colorless.
So we Days Undoing? This is that classic bit about take a verb thing and then you make a noun verber.
Yeah, light the way lighter. Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is Days Undoing. This is Undoer of Days.
Oh, okay. So Days Undoing, that differs from Time Twister because of that end the turn part. Okay, yeah. Huh.
Which, outside of like Sundial of the Infinite, sort of like, things where you specifically want to be ending your turn and you've made this thing happen at Flash, like Days Undoing is a sorcery? Is that right?
Yeah, it is a sorcery. It has the clause, if it's your turn, end the turn.
Right.
Just to really make it clear to these blue mages. Do not cheat.
Being able to do this at instant speed, I do think is a pretty big difference. Of course, you are getting a 6 mana 6/6 onto the battlefield before you're doing that, and then you're giving up a turn of that attacking. So that is a pretty different cost there.
Yeah, here it does matter on the Undoer of Days on this Peter card here, because it also has the text if it's your turn, end the turn. So you don't get to like cut off someone else's turn, even if you do it not on your turn. But it's maybe still quite relevant to wait until it's about to be your turn, then give everyone a fresh hand. You're the first one to start their turn with a fresh hand.
Yeah.
6 mana 6/6. Then I pay 3 more and everyone gets a fresh hand. Is this mostly for the joke?
I mean, it might be, but like I'm thinking more about Sundial of the Infinite and the ability to, probably just in Commander, because like where else are you getting a 6 mana 6/6 on the battlefield and like still playing around and doing silly things?
Yeah.
And you put some stuff on the stack and then you end the turn. Or these things finishing, you're gonna lose the game at end of turn. Oh, whoops, we put that trigger and then we just tuck that trigger away because we ended the turn. There's a lot of different things you can do with Sundial. You're not going to be getting them because what Sundial is 1 mana. Yeah, Sundial is 2 mana to cast and 1 mana to activate, compared to this being 6 mana to cast and 3 mana to activate. But it's also a much more substantial card on its own without the combo potential and like the drawing 7 cards. Maybe you've got, what's her name from Tarkir? She's sometimes a creature, sometimes a planeswalker. There's a 3 mana version of her.
Narset?
Yes. You could have Narset out, so you're stopping all of your opponents from drawing cards.
Oh, that Narset. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Narset Days Undoing is a kind of known quantity in formats.
Yeah, Narset and Vintage Cube is often doing those kinds. I always appreciate a stab at a 6 mana creature. A lot of times people want to price these cards to move. We got a lot of fairly cheap cards in this challenge.
How do you feel about the starts colorless becomes blue as a way of gate limiting? I think it's pretty neat, maybe.
Yeah, I see a lot of potential in that flavor, losing Devoid, becoming blue, meaning something. This card doesn't explain to me what that means, but maybe, in a whole set, we would learn why they're doing that, why they're becoming physical creatures.
If this was the thing that Devoid cards were when they first were introduced, I think I might be like kind of okay with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they kind of start Devoid because they're still partially, phased out from the blind eternities. And if they want to actually start punching people, they have to become a color. They have to stop being Devoid.
And this actually fails one of the bonus points. This actually fails both of the bonus points, I think.
Oh, funny, because it's not monocolor.
Uh-huh. It is in fact colorless to begin with for the base card, and no life payment on this. But I think it's a very fun card, regardless. The bonus points are bonuses for a reason.
Yeah. All right, we got one more. And this art is so old school, it's making me laugh.
Our next card is from James Dalton Bell. It's Berserker for single red mana. It's a 1/1 creature Berserker. No other types. It's a rare, and it has pay 1 red mana. This creature gains trample and gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is its power. At the beginning of the next end step, destroy this creature if it attacked this turn. Activate this ability only before the combat damage step.
And James chimed in with a immediate errata to this card, and only once per turn. So you can fire breathe, multiply your power. Berserker, it's just a guy yelling at the sky. This is like some old school art on a card from Alpha, Berserk.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. There's something about putting this on a 1/1 that makes it so pitiful. Does that make sense?
It looks like a paper cutout or something. Maybe it's just the coloring or the watercolor kind of look to it. It looks like a little guy, in like a diorama, like a puppet, like a paper puppet, like a...
Yeah, and like the sword is maybe not as big as it should be. Maybe it's like very crudely welded.
Yeah.
Huh. And so it's a 1/1 that can become a 2/1, but then it dies. And
Berserker. I don't know. It's kind of cool that like you throw some axe that gives it 3 extra power, and now your 1-drop is really coming to life, because getting trample on this power doubling is really relevant. We're kind of ball lightning-y. We're give this guy a chance, and he's going to deal a lot of damage. But if you just leave him on his own, he's going to yell at the sky.
I do appreciate the like very classic writing that, just like actual Berserk, you destroy the creature rather than sacrifice it, and it has to be activated before the combat damage step, which is like, how often do we ever encounter the combat damage step as a relevant piece of rules text? But of course, unlike Berserk, you can't target any creature.
Yeah, the original Berserk has that clause, cast only before the combat damage step, because, you could wait for them to hit you, and then after they hit you in their main phase, you could Berserk them after they, just after they attacked and kill them. But it's just staying true to the card. We're true to the card here.
Mm-hmm.
I like this little guy. He's yelling at the sky. It looks like Conan. He might be naked. I don't know.
With the errata, this accomplishes the initial idea, maybe, but only if it actually attacks. Otherwise, you can cast this and keep casting it, because it only destroys if it attacks.
Yeah, that's one of those like crewing a vehicle at the end of your opponent's turn kind of thing. Like, haha, I could take this game action. My Berserker is going to yell at the sky and double his power and not die because he didn't attack.
But like, it could block. So
this is a funny one.
The creature type just Berserker, I think, really helps sell that home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our cards. Any favorite cards from amongst these going Nova creatures?
You know what? I think I might actually be going for your card. I think the Augury Signet is my favorite for this week here. It's like solving some designy problems. You really went over the top on the visual execution of the card. Yeah, I just I'm a big fan of it.
Thank you. My pick is going to be Gitaxian Prober.
Oh yeah, it sounded like it. Yeah.
There are a lot of really fun designs here. This is one of my favorite challenges. I mean, like Spell Shapers, I think, as an idea, like creatures that can cast spells of their own are, to me, just a really kind of core part of the fantasy of Magic, even if it's not something that we actively see often. But like, that's one reason why we loved like guild mages and battle mages and and all sorts of stuff like this. So getting a chance to see some classic stuff from Lightning Helix to Sway the Stars to Berserk in different ways is a really fun way.
Maybe now that we have foundations, maybe this is our time to like just build the crossovers. Like all these spell shape things from foundations. This is the canon that everyone's going to learn. Everyone's going to know these cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a way to re-highlight the same card, but with a new context, with attached to a creature.
If you want to like add mana to stuff instead of like making a force token, just you make create a Flanowar Elves like token. You know what I mean? Like that. It's in the set. It's in Foundation, so everybody has to know what it does.
Yeah. There were a bunch of fun ones here. This challenge had a lot of cards. I think it had like two camps that like really aimed at like, here's an efficient construction, like the Magus of the Toxin one. Like that's like a really good card, super playable, super fun. We had a couple other cards in that vein. And then we had the absolutely bananas on the other side, casting Sway of Stars, casting Days Undoing, the super huge cards doing gigantic things. So, Denial, exiling the 7 best cards from your opponent's library. Yeah. So we had the kind of two ends, and both of those are fun to review. It's fun to think about, fun to talk about. So I'm always loving getting these submissions in.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, and yeah, one challenge ending means we get a new one, and you've really been cooking on this one. We went through a bunch of revisions on this challenge. Why don't you give us your final decree for December?
So our December design challenge is Advent Sentinel. Design a card that cares about Defender, but doesn't cause all defenders to attack. Bonus points, Advent Children. The card has Offspring, the very fun new mechanic from Bloomborough. Also bonus point, Advent Calendar. It rewards something each turn cycle or each turn. So like an Advent calendar where each day you open up the little day and get a little confection of some sort.
We got a Chiron on the bottom of the screen. Final Fantasy mentioned, blinking for Advent Children.
Mother! When I was in high school, there was a boy in our like AP US history class who got like a bunch of us over. I don't know that any of us had played Final Fantasy VII. I certainly had, and showed us this cool movie he was obsessed over on his big, I don't know, probably tiny these days screen. He had the DVD for Advent Children, and we watched it. I was like, this is really interesting, devoid of context. So it is stuck in my head as a classic thing.
You had to think so hard to try to understand what you just watched that you're still thinking about it to this day.
And like when you watch something like that, you assume that everything there has meaning.
Yeah.
You assume the payoff, even if it doesn't actually pay off on anything.
Maybe I got to hit the Advent Children rewatch. I feel the details fading from my mind. All right, so we got a Defender card. That's kind of the main focus here. If you're making a Defender creature, or a card that cares about Defender, you left it open. But doesn't cause defenders to attack. That's like the Arcades, whatever. It's the thing that, a lot of Defender decks are about. Giving your giant creatures the ability to attack and then letting them deal damage equal to their toughness. We're trying for something a little bit different. Give us something a little bit different from that.
And of course, a classic, one of those that is being referenced here is Event Sentinel from Rise of the Eldrazi. It's a card that doesn't attack, but instead like deals damage equal to the number of things you've got.
Yeah. So some other reason to care about Defender. Defender's like an interesting thing to try to care about because it's like, hey, I'm not going to do anything for a while. Like, how do you make that gameplay like interesting, where you're promising to your opponent that you're not going to attack them for a while? The kind of other piece in here is Advent, so that's like the time before Christmas. I remember as a kid, we used to go to church every week, and there'd be like this wreath with 4 candles. I think it was 3 purple candles and 1 pink candle. Sure. And it would go purple, purple, pink, purple. When you saw that pink candle get lit, you knew the hype. It's hype time. We're like 10 days out from Christmas. It's time to start losing your mind. That's what I always think of with Advent is why 3 purple and a pink candle. Maybe they taught us that in church, but I forgot about it.
Yeah, we could get
Um,
into like liturgical seasons and like Advent, Christmas, Christmastide, Epiphany. But I think instead we will say that's our podcast for this week. You can join our Discord with the link in the show notes.
All right. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to tell people before we get out of here?
Sure. So it is winter. It is December, and that means it is time for the new season of I'll Be Pod for Castmas coming out this December. I'm really excited about it. We are talking about Ursula K. Le Guin's The Left Hand of Darkness.
Oh.
We are talking about Disney's Frozen.
Oh, okay.
We are talking about a very famous Christmas coffee commercial.
I know what you're talking about. I can guess just from you saying that.
And I'm going to say it's going to be wild. I'm looking forward to those episodes coming out. It might be my magnum opus. We'll see.
Oh! All right. All right, sis.
And I think several members of our community have really made the jump over to Blue Sky. You can find me at Folly Persist on Blue Sky.
Yeah, I think maybe I have to do that too. Maybe I'll be plugging my Blue Sky by next episode.
Mm-hmm.
The critical mass is upon us here.
Yeah. Alas, poor co-host.
Yeah. But in the meantime, if you need to reach out to us, Discord's the place to do that. So find me there at Tim F. Riley.
Thanks for listening. And always remember Lightning Helix. Always remember Lightning Helix. I mean, the card that you really should be remembering is when you're looking at white and red, remember Boris Charm, remember Deflecting Palm. Don't be tricked into thinking, oh, Lightning Helix, it's only going to be 3. Nope, Boris Charm, that can be 4, that can be Double Strike, Deflecting Palm, that could be a lot of things. So just, you know.